Well, welcome everyone to the next edition of Carl's Corner, which is episode 7. And I've reached out to a friend that I've known too many years to know, and it just over with the coming off Facebook, and we've all been friends. And actually, like I mentioned to you in the my friend Joe Ricci, who is, where are you, Joe? You're in Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania?
Right outside of Carlisle, in a little town called Boiling Springs.
Which is how far from Harrisburg?
About 20 minutes.
Okay, south or east or west?
It's west of Harrisburg.
West.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to show this picture and understand the last time we actually met and talked in person was roughly about 10 years ago in May at this radio station in Philadelphia at about 10:30 on a Saturday night. And I think you could see the clock on the top left-hand corner. When I took this picture, it's like a little bit over past midnight.
A little past midnight.
Do you remember? Yeah. What was the meet? Why did we meet? I know we were trying to do. We're always looking to do something, but what was? Do you remember?
Well, yeah, I mean, you and I have we have a past. It is a beautiful past, a wonderful past, a friendship past, and a radio past. So that particular photo, I was working with Vince Squire, and you had surprised me coming into the studio, which was awesome. And you ended up with that shot with my Penn State shirt. And it's not like we've been away for 10 years. We've been in communication. We do that quite a bit on Facebook, but visually, we haven't seen each other in a while.
I'm just going to say that our friendship and getting to know each other goes back to the good old Atlantic City days when I was living there from 96 to 2002. And I got the privilege of meeting some fascinating people that were on the radio and that crazy TV 53 station that was like really almost like a public access channel. But it just so happens it was on cable systems that reached almost up into the Philadelphia area. So starting with Johnny Patillo, which I interviewed about a month ago, who is a performer from way back in the Danny and the Junior days and really good friend with Tony Orlando. But then I kind of husband and wife team of Anthony Santinelli and his wife at the time, Linda, who they were New Yorkers, and they did this show on Sunday mornings called Radio Talk, talking about radio on the TV. But most likely he was always talking about Philadelphia radio. New York radio. But he brought in local people, like I had David Allen Pratt from Cool 98.3 a little, about a month or two ago. And now, were you on that show also too, Joe?
I was. There were quite a few friends, and I remember Johnny Patillo and Tony and Linda were from the Wall Street area in working, but radio wise, he knew Lou Jack and he knew Don Kay and he knew the mayor, and it was in their heart, that kind of situation, growing up with that kind of music that inspired them. They were the kind of people who, they loved Red Skelton, on TV. And
come on, Joe, nobody's going to know who Red Skelton. Nobody's going to know who Red Skelton. Nobody's going to know who Red Skelton is besides us. That's way before a lot of people.
Catch up, So,
introduce who this man is. Introduce who this man is.
Yeah, Don K. Reed. God bless him. Don was, he was open and boy, did he have insight, and was he a great teacher. He brought things that he wanted you to remember, and he instilled in you. In the short time that I was able to meet him through Tony and Linda, That was probably one of the more exciting times. Meeting the mayor and others up in New York was also fascinating because you know the names, but when you see the faces, it hits you like
Well,
Don and I hadn't met until I met Bill Kane, and then you meet that icon, and so it is it's very powerful, very powerful.
well, for people who are seeing here locally in California, maybe other parts of the country, excuse me, whoever going to watch this, Don K. Reed was part of the. It was an oldie station in near WCBS that once
WCBS,
WABC
yeah.
that actually went back to talk, took over the music on the FM dial in the New York area, but it really focused in back then. Still, they were playing 50s and 60s music, and then at any of the special events and concert, Don Kay would also be the MC for a lot of these, and then Anthony befriended a lot of those DJs, and he would tell us he would take the bus because he didn't drive. He would take the bus up to New York, stay overnight because Don's wasn't he like 10 to 3 in the morning or something like that. His
Yeah,
shift, it was like an overnight.
yeah.
And it
I
was always fascinating. But Anthony always let us, come on and be a part of it. But then getting back into so how did you now? So you're originally from that central Pennsylvania area.
Yes.
What got you to the Atlantic City area and into
Well,
radio?
that is an interesting story. I had worked locally here for a number of years, stations like QV 93, WCMB, um, even a short brief period at Wink 104. And then I decided to get away. So I went down to Jersey. And when I got down to Jersey, the first job I had was at the Sands overnights as a
For
front
people that
desk.
don't know, because remember, Joe, we're talking about people all over the country. So the Sands was one of the smallest casinos in Atlantic City
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah,
The
but it was
Atlantic City had
Sinatra's hangout.
casinos. True.
And I
Until you
never
went to
did get to
resorts,
see
right?
him. Yes, yes. I used to go into Atlantic City, and every time I would go in on the back of a bus, I would see a billboard for Light Rock. And that billboard just kept hitting me and hitting me, and I needed to get back into the business. So I went in with a resume. I didn't have a tape with me, but I went in with a resume. And Tom Reagan wanted to hire me in sales. It took a little while for the general manager, Dick Taylor, to come around and say yes, but he eventually did.
Tom Reagan. What Tom Reagan. What a character.
Yeah, but Tom was one of those who um, he knew and evaluated a lot of things. He helped you along the way with your sales and how to be how to approach a client, what to say to them, how not to be overtly aggressive, how to bring them into you once you explain to them what you're there for. So I thank him every day for that. And Dick Taylor was that as well. But Dick was, I mean, he was just he was just an encyclopedia of everything you could possibly imagine, and he worked well. Dick Fennessy was our program director, and God bless him. We just lost him, but boy, the stories he told from WFIL to York, Pennsylvania, where he worked, and learned a lot from Dick. So I worked a number of different places in Atlantic City. So from Light Rock, I went over to Cool 98.3, and Bill Kane got me in over there. Worked there and at the
So where's
Shark.
this? Where was this picture taken at? Which
That was
station was
taken
this
in a
picture
mobile
taken?
trailer at QV 93, which eventually became WTPA,
Oh, so that's in their home
104
market. That's not
Rocks.
Atlantic City then.
No,
Okay.
that's in Mechanicsburg. Actually, there was a trailer behind the house that the station's um, you know sales force worked out of. We were in the trailer. Our studios and our production facility were in that little trailer, and we were behind a furniture warehouse. Now that trailer no longer exists, but when people see that, um, they recognize that it's from that era. And in that facility, I mean, Steve Harris, who's in New York now with a voiceover company, um, Joe Donovan, who eventually went to WPEN in Philly, Chris James, who is still in the market doing exceptionally well as Hawaiian Chris James. Mike Tyler worked there for a brief period. Mike is syndicated all over the United States now with his show. I think he's out of
So
Nebraska.
who is this, Joe?
That is Scott Smith, who worked odd jobs in the technical side of things, and we got to be friendly playing softball. And Scott loved music. He loved the whole aspect of it. So one day I asked him if he wanted to come out and help me, to do some gigs, some weddings, some private events, and we forged a relationship and a business up until I left to come to Atlantic City. I came back here in 2015. We started up, but then he had some injuries that eventually he couldn't do it anymore. So without him, I didn't want to do any extracurricular, parties or anything. So we stopped. But Scott's a tremendous, 40-year friend.
There's your promo from Cool.
Yeah, our sales headshots back in
It's
the day.
So when were you in sales? Because I started at FPG in 96, around November, December. And like I mentioned to you in our talk yesterday, that I worked under Jack Miller. They had this crazy idea that they could just have a salesperson just for the AM, which in that small market was just almost an impossibility. With my background in sales at the time, they had Light Rock, which was a 50,000 watt FM that went over 10 counties. Didn't they have the a country station too? But I couldn't sell them. I had to turn them over to somebody else, so that didn't work. So I ended up going over to Cool, working for John Rebel. So you were already out of there as far as sales, or you were with?
I started in '93, February of '93, and
way before me. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, started in February of '93, and then it just escalated to on-air production, all that fun stuff. And transitioning from Light Rock 96.9 over to Cool 98.3 and the Shark. And the country station at the time was 106.3. It wasn't Cat Country. It became Cat Country sometime later. But we were 106.3. 106.3 now, I think, is an alternative station down the shore. But that was the progression for me. And for Bill Kane, Bill brought me over to Cool 98.3. And I love him for it.
Well, that's when music was still very important, and you still were able to play. It wasn't as free, it wasn't as formatted as it is today. I know you did a little rant about the same 5 songs over a 2-hour, 3-hour period, which is the death knell to the terrestrial radio, as we all know, even out here. At any given time, you can hear Hotel California about 16 times in the course of a day. Okay, it's a great song, but I'm going to hear it 16 times.
You've known me long enough, and you know exactly how I feel about radio today. And there are a few radio stations out there that
you're very shy. You're very shy about it, Joe.
There are a few stations that are doing it right. They're doing it right with talent who are presenting stories, who are giving, you know, some ideas behind the band, behind the song, behind the times. They're entertaining people. People are listening because of what the talent is doing. In this area, Carl, there's a station called WPDC. They have no air talent, but they play fantastic music, and they incorporate the 50s, 60s, 70s, um, but without talent to tell somebody, hey, this, was the Moon Glows, or here's the Duprees, or to tell a story behind. Um, there's a commercial out right now. This young kid walking through a department store looking for something for Santa, and in the background you hear, "Hey, Santa Claus." Well, that song is by the Moon Glows, but there's people out there who know probably don't have no clue that one of the great doo-wop bands from the 50s is behind that song. Those are the kind of things that frustrate me, because there's more to just making a dollar. And it seems to me that you know, the idea now is that, well, we just got to make to pay the board. We got to make, and I get frustrated. I don't listen to radio anymore. I tried listening to other avenues, but it just, I play my own music here.
Well, like we mentioned yesterday, I think now with the advent of this technology, and I have to apologize to some people who might be watching, we're getting a little glitch because maybe on my internet, maybe Joe's internet, because I know it's Monday morning for me. Millions of people are using this, so but we're still pretty good. But
Yeah.
even though with this technology that we can expand into this format and talk about for 45 minutes with the Moonglows about who they were, all that, bring Johnny Patillo back on, talk about the good old days of doo-wop.
Oh boy,
And I
there's a
think
guy for you.
I think it opened
Yeah.
up your eyes a little bit,
Isn't
Joe, that
it
we can,
frustrating?
actually in one sense, yes, but look at technology. They saw television. Nobody would listen to radio anymore when television came on. That adapted, but now traditional, we call it terrestrial radio. Now, look, I love XM because there's no commercials and they have like 300 channels. And if you want to listen to a specific genre, you could just put on that station and it's there. Yes, it does repeat, but you have what? 50 other channels that have other things that are close to it. And every once in a while, you'll hear something that you haven't heard from in a while. But this
Sure.
format, our age, with your experience, my experience, Joe, I think 2024, we could have like a weekly show and you could say, Carl, we want to talk about this group. Then we could go into start saying, because there's a lot of reactionary videos that are on YouTube that are getting hundreds of millions of views from young kids in their 30s about, wow, listen to this group and listen to that group. And like, because younger kids are understanding the music from back then, even though crazy, the society was nuts. The music was phenomenal. It was always about love and this and that and harmony, not about the insanity of today. So I think maybe this opens up your eyes a little bit, Joe, that we have a new format. Even though you're 2,200 miles away in 3 time zones, we could do this within an instant and have anything we want without going into a really stupid and paying time or trying to get advertising for it.
I have a friend of mine who's trying to do that in New Jersey. He started a radio station on Facebook. One of the smart program directors who worked at WOGL, who worked at the Shark, programmed the Shark. I mean, this guy knows his Philly soul. He knows his Motown. He knows his doo-wop. And he's a talented individual, extremely talented. His knowledge is just exceptional, just like Bill Kane. Bill should still be on, despite his health, he should still be on radio. The guy is a walking encyclopedia. And he does it in a way where a young individual who would listen to Bill and say, I never knew that about that artist. I've got to listen to that. And that's what we want, because
Joe,
otherwise we'll lose it.
Are you still in communication with him?
Oh, sure.
Why don't you
Yeah,
get
I love Bill.
what
Bill is
once this airs? Why don't you? Because I think I did become friends with him somehow, but we don't communicate. But you know, once this airs, you could communicate with him and say, hey, could get you and and him and talk about a subject once a week. So
yeah.
once this airs, why don't you reach out to him and actually have him on here? Because look, you're in the comfort of your home. I'm in the comfort of my place. We don't have to physically go into a studio and worry about this. So yeah, you just brought him up. I'm sure he has a laptop with a camera and a microphone that we can hook it up.
Yeah, it never leaves you. You may leave the industry, but the industry, in terms of the music and the knowledge, never leaves you. You're always there. I mean, I'm trying to always look for something that will educate me. Recently, we saw the biop on Little Richard. Fascinating. Um, we, watched the other day. We had a Neil Diamond PBS special that I wanted to see. Things like that. I'm always curious. I'm always interested. If there's something I don't know, I'll look it up and I'll learn, and I'll try to find stories that I've not heard before. And that's the man right there. He's a technical whiz. He started out, getting his license in engineering and worked as an intern at WIBG 99 in Philly in 74, I think it was. And just a long standing background. Um, Great guy right there.
So he knew Joe Niagara, he knew High Lit, he knew all those famous the Rockenberg, all of those from
Yeah, he knew High
WIBG
Lit. He
because
knew
they were in
Sam.
competition with it.
He knew.
Well,
He had a relationship when Sam tried to promote his father's. Um, um, he developed a High Lit uh, where you could go on and listen to High Lit's voice and his music. I don't know. I believe Sam passed away. High Lit's son Sam passed away, but he knew all of them. Joe Niagara, I think, was probably one of Billy's inspirations um, in the business, among others, and he was very close with Don Cannon.
well, Don Cannon, I remember Anthony and Linda doing some promotion when he used to go up to resorts. I have a picture of them up there. So yeah, and I'm just going through Bill Kane's Facebook page, and yeah, because I think him personally. I think we've only met once or twice, but I think invaluable of his experience and everything else that we had there.
He would.
So that's your
I'll
homework
pass it
assignment.
along to him. I'll
But
pass it along to him. Yeah. Yes, I will do that. Yeah, he would love this. He would love to talk about, um, you know, I mean, I would be interested in hearing about the Wibbage days, and it really kind of is enlightening. He started at Wibbage, and he, I believe, ended at the new Wibbage down at the Jersey Shore. Uh, Jerry Beebe and John Lockwood and a couple of other people, Ken Schaefer, that he worked with down there. So there's a lot of stories that Bill would have regarding the background. He would talk to you about Kevin Fennessy, and I'm hoping that Rich gets into the Broadcasters Hall of Fame here because he deserves it like his brother did. So those are some of the things I think. There's some great stories there that you can get from Billy.
all right, so
All the people you've
just
interviewed are wonderful, by the way.
yeah, everybody
David
has
Allen
their own
Pratt,
little
I know
niche.
he's got a ton of stories. Johnny Patillo is just a great person, period, and what a
And,
great entertainer. Can that man sing
and
or
look what,
what?
I know at 74, 75, that God bless him. And I know and I met him a few times. His co-host passed about 4 or 5 years ago now, I think through COVID, was Kenny Jeremiah, who
Yeah.
was with the Soul Survivors. Now, he was a lot older, but, at our age, a lot of them are starting to go and whatever. So, as many as we could get on here and mention their past. And so I think, you're going to see what this medium could do, especially for this, because obviously there's no outlet out there for 50s and 60s music. But I think guys like myself that could actually put this out there and actually put the people that were part of it. Now, there's an engineer that did a lot of the engineering of a lot of the iconic songs that came out of Philadelphia International and Philly, Gene Leon. And I guess he has some personal issues, whatever, why he doesn't want to come on yet. But he was like an engineer on some of the classics of them. Teddy Pendergrass and Harold Melvin and Double Dutch Bus with Frankie Smith and all
Yeah.
that. So, yeah, there's a multitude of people that are out there. It's just amazing. So,
And you don't hear
okay,
them on the
so
radio,
you were
do
in
you,
Atlantic
Carl?
City for so many years. You were in your radio business. I wonder why.
You
Why?
go.
Because the
You tell
music's too
me.
good. They want all the
I
new
mean,
garbage. They want the
the
piece to
Soul
do it.
Survivors.
They want,
You never hear. And I used to play the extended version of Expressway. Expressway, the one that you hear on the radio is like 2 minutes and 40 seconds, but there was an extended version. It goes to 3:15. Bill Kane and I used to play that all the time. When I came into the Carlisle area and people heard the extended version, I would get calls. Where'd you find that? You have it in your collection. Teddy Pendergrass. I used to play Teddy, and you just don't hear. Um, you just
well,
don't hear
but look,
those
back,
those artists.
back in the day, everybody had Joe. Remember, back in the day, all the groups had extended version. Look at "Light My Fire" by the Doors. There was the
Mm-hmm.
commercial one that was on the radio. There was two something,
Sure,
and then the
sure.
extended one with all the extended, organ. And then the biggest one was, remember, "Time Has Come Today" by the Chambers Brothers.
But
Had the
Chambers Brothers.
commercial, right? So
Yeah,
yeah, so yeah, that's another term that they don't even know what a 45 or extended version of or extended
right.
mix. Okay,
Yeah, and it,
so
it all.
you were in Atlantic City for how many years, and you were in? What made you say
Well,
that's enough? I'm out of here. I'm going back home, if I may ask.
um, wow. I was in Atlantic City in
We're having a little bit of internet situation here. Hopefully, Joe's still around and still there. It might be his, it might be mine. So we'll see.
radio from '93 Supremes. I just said, my lord. Now there are some again. There are some great. The Wibbage station down in Ocean City is doing wonderful. And there are some stations, WVLT in Vineland, like I said, WPDC in Elizabethtown here in Pennsylvania. There are some stations that are, doing it with talent and with music. But boy, if we got back to the community, to the people, if we could express, that is even more of an intense presentation. And you talk about, you know, growing stations people would flock to listen if they did it right.
Yeah, I just wanted to say for that last little segment, your internet must have cut out a little bit, so it didn't really start. So my initial question was the reason why you left the AC area and then you moved back, because I know I saw you in 2013.
Hmm.
You were still in that area. So what got you back to your hometown?
Actually, Scott, whom you showed a little while ago, knew that I was disgruntled and frustrated. and he said, "Listen, come back and we'll do our thing again." So I was like, "Heck yeah, that." And
That's Scott.
that's Scott.
Okay.
So I came back in 2015, and then
Who is this?
um, that is Ed Ark. Ed is one of the best local commentators in sports in this area that you would, when you hear him present. We used to do high school football. Specifically, we would do Cumberland Valley High School football together. We did it for a couple years together, and I was his color man. And it was wow. It was, and we always prepped. We always knew the teams that we were going up against, and it was just how smooth this guy was. He should be national. Ed should be national, but he's a professor at Messiah College locally here. And I think he loves and enjoys that, but he also loves and enjoys doing what he does behind the scenes with the sports program. And I'm hoping he continues to do that. He's tremendous.
Well, look, we don't always have to talk about radio or music. We could talk about sports too, because you're a sports person. I'm a sports person. You know, I invested in the red zone and watching red zone yesterday, and wondering, and I'm happy that Buffalo annihilated Dallas yesterday for our hatred of Dallas. So,
It's
yeah,
interesting, isn't
we
it?
could talk about sports too. So that's as many. Yes. Look,
In
the
this
first ones I
house,
did with my cousin.
oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Well, I'm just saying, in this
No,
house,
I was just saying
uh,
before I came up with Carl's Corner, I came up with my cousin Vince. We called Talking with Cuz. And he's the brother from another mother, but we're the ones we had Flyer season tickets. And we started it with when Bobby Clark scored the overtime goal in Boston to be up 1-1 and to go back to Philly and win the cup, because we have season tickets and all that. So,
yeah.
where sports came, sports was our God back then with tickets. But get this, Joe, my season ticket per game was $7 a ticket.
Oh, wow.
Guess how much it went up? Stanley Cup playoffs and the final in 74. Guess how much the ticket was for the finals? And I still have it to show people. This is 74 now, remember.
74. That would be Bobby Clark's. I would say 18.
Now, remember, my regular season, my ticket per game, I was in the second level of the spectrum, section 34, row 9, seat 1. It went up $1.50 for Stanley Cup finals. So now you can't even park, you can't even buy a beer or anything. The last time I went to an event down there before I moved out here for an Eagles game, parking was $40. You mean to tell me the asphalt, is worth that much? But I'm
Wow.
glad, my days back in sports was affordable. And actually, we had a family member that, worked in the parking lots by the Spectrum and the old vet. Now, they were only charging $2 to park. But, hey, bring a date, how nice. And he would move the cone over before you park for free right up front. So there's other things we could talk about too, Joe. So go ahead.
Yeah, that was a great area. I mean,
So you moved back.
you had the Spectrum, you had the Vet, you had JFK, where the concerts and the Rolling Stones and great artists played at. We were very
And live,
um,
and I worked Live Aid 12
oh wow,
18 hours.
oh wow.
I worked security for Spectacle back in the day at Live Aid, 5:30 in the morning to midnight. One of the greatest days I've ever had in my life, not realizing what really it turned out to be. We thought it was just another big concert we were going to work to, but we had to be there at 5:30 in the morning. And we had
I think,
designated parking
Carl, that
spots, and it was already a festival. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I think that it is indicative of those who were part of Live Aid to go back to where Live Aid first started. Live Aid first started in 1974 with um, Harry Chapin and Bob Arams, I believe his name was, when they started World Hunger Year. It had always been Harry's um, goal to put together, and this is coming from Harry Belafonte, who, when Harry Belafonte was given an award in '86, the first thing he talked about was Harry Chapin, and that pebble in the pond that Harry created and started, to create everything that became Live Aid. So that's what I go back and I, look at and I listen and I remember, and that he couldn't understand why we had so much hunger, not only around the world but right here in the United States as well. So, those who were a part of that, I guess they accepted the vision, which is tremendous. But he had been working for years, and he worked with John Denver, and he worked with Belafonte, and he got a lot of great people to back him. Now today, I believe his wife um, does Why Hunger, which is the setup from the World Hunger Years. So that's how
And you
Live
see,
Aid all
and
started.
Joe, see, you just educated me on a little bit more. Now I kind of recollect about that. I wasn't that because I go back now. It wasn't for hunger. What the first benefit concert ever was George Harrison's, for Bangladesh at Madison Square
Bangladesh,
Garden
right?
in August
Yeah,
of '71. Now that was, because of the catastrophic weather events they had and all that. But yeah,
correct.
I just now remember about that one in '74, '75 with Harry Tape. So yeah, it's look, we're considered old head, old dudes, but boy, do we have a lot of stories and man, a lot of life situation about in and out of the business, the business,
Yep.
so to speak. But
Yep.
but yeah, it's like, see, you was wondering what are we going to talk about. So we're at 37 minutes, and look, we haven't even scratched the surface of anything yet,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right, what
Yeah. I
else?
love
Where
I
do you want
love
to
the
go?
industry. I'm not fond of how it's presented by some of these the entities that own multiple radio stations, and it's for profit. It's not for it should be where you can, make a decent, but they threw everything away. We're just going to make money and we're going to throw everything else away. There's so much talent out there. Um, it's sad. It really is sad. Even the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, when you think about artists like Tommy James, like Neil Sedaka, like the Guess Who, and the list goes on, who are not even considered or nominated, it really makes you sit back and go, "What is going on?" You
Well,
know?
Joe, you mentioned that you just mentioned the name Neil Sedaka. And our prep
Yeah,
on yesterday, you mentioned you have an interview with Neil Sedaka that you did back
yeah,
in the day.
yeah.
Tell
I
us a
did
little
an
bit about.
interview with Neil when he was in Wildwood, and I researched a lot about him. His father was a taxi driver. His mother was a teacher, and I had learned that it was his mother because they didn't have money back in those days. I mean, everything was a struggle. But his mother bought him his piano, and I mentioned that to Neil, and it threw me when he said, "Wow, Joe, you really did do your homework." And I was proud of that, and I'm thankful for Neil for allowing me to have the opportunity to interview him. And I asked him about RCA. I asked him about if he was okay with the way they let him go, and there was no animosity there. And I also asked him about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, you keep in mind that Neil Diamond is in, and Carole King is in, but Neil is not. He hasn't even been nominated. And I asked him. I said, "What? Why?" And he said to me, "Joe, it'll never happen in my lifetime. And boy, did that get me emotional. So,
Why? Why does he
uh,
think is that he
he
wouldn't
should
be?
be,
Why?
he should have been in a long time ago. Um, he should be, if you think about artists who are respected in the industry, Tommy James should have been in a long time ago. Um, think of some of
You
the
think they
artists.
forget? You think they forget about the 50s and 60s artists? Like they're kind of like overlooked and thinks it's only 70s, 80s, and current people, because the people that run these organizations and these Hall of Fames, they're not people of our age. They're all younger, thinking, you look at these lists. I just saw one online this morning, the top 50 guitar players. And, it's just like, wait a second, this one's listed 18th and this one's 20th. Like, Jimmy Page is like 7th or 8th. What, are you kidding me? So I think it's the perspective of the people that's actually involved doing this, that they have no
If,
clue about what really preceded them. It's just like us with our parents'
yeah,
music with 40s and 50s. Well, 30s, 40s, and 50s.
if you listen to the artists, you'll know. If you listen to the interviews, listen to Lou Graham's interview, listen to Cher, listen to some of the other artists who, um, um, some of the main players from Bad Company. Um, it really is. I don't know how it's set up, and I don't know the voting system. None of us do, but something's wrong.
Well, it's they say it, people, most other societies, that your elders are respected, whatever. But I think now we're in a throwaway society. Now we reach a certain age, because look, you're a media guy. What's the Arbitron and Nielsen ratings? It only goes up to what, 55? It doesn't even
Hmm.
include our ages anymore. That's interesting. Wow, like we don't exist, we don't count, we don't have income. So, but
Yep,
it's
that's what we've
interesting
been
that,
talking about.
but it was a very interesting, not to it's a negative or morbid note, but then I had a dear friend that invited me to Palm Springs for the weekend, for Thanksgiving weekend. So we had Thanksgiving, and I go, okay, what are we going to do that next day on Friday? My friend Jonathan, who's a great classical guitarist, but he plays modern music, but he goes, we're going to go to a cemetery. I go, what? Cemetery? And you'll see it on my Facebook page. We went to go see Frank Sinatra's nondescript cemetery. I would think a guy like Sinatra would have a mausoleum, whatever. Nope. And it's right there, and I have pictures of it online.
It's a flat
And
headstone.
people were there. Okay. Yes. And I said, oh, yeah. And you talked about Cher, and about 15 rows north was Sonny Bono.
Hmm.
So it's amazing. So I think we have to do our due diligence. And I think with your background, I was more in marketing and sales. For some reason, I just didn't have the confidence to go to a small station back in the day and be a DJ and go on the air. I didn't have the confidence then. Maybe I have a lot better now, but your background, uh, Bill Kane. So I think this is our last hurrah to bring back that, because we put this out there between YouTube and Facebook. We're going to end up getting our own little uh, groups of people that are going to want to be,
I think it's a necessity.
guests, and also
Um,
uh, everything.
yeah, I think it's a necessity. I mean,
You're good. Go ahead, Joe.
the the industry that we live in today, the music that's being produced today, um, you either like it or you know you you you, you shy away from it. More and more people, if you ask what music they listen to, they'll tell you. They listen to the '60s and '70s. I love listening to um, every from Elvis to Jerry Vale. Um, I was brought up on the kind of music that Nobody plays anymore. There's no big band music anywhere. You can't hear Glenn Miller anywhere. Um, you can't hear Perry Como
or
or Terry
horns.
Vale, or you don't hear them.
Well, you saw, I always, when Chicago first came out, blood, sweat, and tears, the horn bands blew me away. That's
Hmm.
always had, what got me with my youth and my teens. Seeing Chicago, I was what, 16, 17 years old at the Steel Pier in Atlantic City, and hearing them live. Oh my
Oh, sure,
God.
absolutely.
And it
The
just,
whole band,
and,
the whole band
and
with Terry Cass and
yes.
Cetera and all of them. If you didn't have the experience, forget about it.
And Panko, the trombone player. So before I moved out here, they were traveling with another band, and they were at the center over there in Camden. And man, those guys were in their 70s. They were still tearing it up. Now, obviously, Terry Kath, tragic. A little had too many cocktails and had that gun and didn't think it was loaded. But he was ahead of his time too. And would you believe he wasn't even listed on that guitar? 50th top 10 guitar players. He wasn't even listed. So,
Jimi Hendrix
but anyway,
said
uh,
that Terry Kath was a better guitar player than he was. Jimi Hendrix
exactly.
said this about Terry
Yes.
Kath.
Yes.
That's
Talk about being humble.
thank you. Oh, man.
Jimmy, those guys were so humble back then too. They always thought that the Beatles hated the Stones hated the Beatles. No, they were best buds. You look at, the iconic "All You Need Is Love" video that was the first simulcast radio satellite back in '67. Who's sitting there chanting? Mick Jagger. They were all buds back in the day. Yeah, they
Yeah,
broke balls.
they were just
Were
competing.
guys, but look. Yes, in a good way. Not that they hated each other. There was this, or like, back in the '90s, like, the East Coast rap, and, they hurt each other. But no, they were all, so, hey, Joe, I think we didn't even scratch the surface today. But I
No, we
think your I think your schoolwork or your homework assignment for the next show is to pick a topic, pick something that we could do. If we would like to do this maybe a once a week basis, I know that this is Christmas week and next week is crazy, but maybe we'll, get together after the first of the year and pick a subject and reach out to Bill and give him, what we've done and how we'd be able to do this.
sure.
What do
Yeah,
you think?
the schedule's a little rough with what I do now, but we'll make time.
Yeah, me too. But me too. I'm on my way out to do some cars, but it's still only 10 o'clock in the
Save
morning
me
here.
one. Save me
So
one.
no, they're too expensive, buddy. The car business is insane out here now. And between me and you,
Yeah.
they're flooding all the EVs.
Ooh.
Nobody's buying them, and you just saw that the electric vehicles,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
they're all sitting there. And Ford and actually Chevy just happened to announce very slowly, oh, they're stopping to the EV production. They're shutting the plants down. They're not making the Chevy Bolt anymore. But that's another that's another topic for another day. But we won't get into that now. So, but Joe, what do you? We got almost 50 minutes. Maybe some closing remarks. Maybe some thoughts. Maybe lead into our next time we get together. You let me know. You tell me.
Well, radio is always going to be um, my passion. Even though I'm not in the industry, I still, Joel Whitburn, I still go in the book. Um, I still enjoy what can be, which really keeps me going. I thank the good Lord for not closing any of my dreams. Um, you know, I still think that it can be an industry that people can respect again, musically and community wise, so on and so forth. Talent out there is, they're just waiting. Um, I have a friend of mine who I know would love to do a Sunday show on the Beatles every week, but we'll see. We'll see how things go.
Well, I would love to do that one too, because Breakfast with the Beatles, I grew up with that, and I hate to use a
Right.
religious aspect. Most people go to church on Sundays. I just listen to the Beatles on a Sunday. That's my, so yes, I would love to be a part of that, because I know Andre Gardner and 1029 did that for many years and they took them off. But there's one here in California that they have that's been the longest running one. So that would always be, on the top of my list too,
Yep.
a Beatles show. So, Joe, anything else? Because now people who are seeing this, because we are taping this, we're going to probably air this sometime tomorrow on Tuesday, different time zones. But as you see down below, I'm going to put this up there. Please like and subscribe to the channel on YouTube or wherever end up you're watching it on. If you're watching on Facebook, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Any comments you have, because we would probably, we're not live, but we would answer comments after the fact. And so what do you think, Joe? Because you're always wondering what's this going to be like. What do you think after the first one?
I'm I'm amazed that I'm here doing this with you. I would tell those who are there to subscribe, do that, because this is an opportunity for you to see how folks in the industry made it what it was, and maybe even those who might want to make it what it could be. Um, I know it's in its relatively infancy, if you will, but go with it, because there's going to be a lot of good coming out of this down the road. Subscribe.
Yes, I think we're going to be the new pioneers that are going to do this. So I appreciate you being on. So till next time. So yeah, you got your little homework assignment to get a hold of Bill and anybody else, because this is going to start airing tomorrow. You'll be able to see it on my Facebook page, and I'll have it on YouTube.
All right,
And
buddy.
say, yeah, you want to be a part of this, and even if you want to host it, I could produce on the back end for you too. So on that note, whoever is going to be seeing this, we're coming up on Christmas holidays. If we don't get together before that, have a great Christmas.
Merry
I'm still going
Christmas,
to say
everybody.
Christmas
Enjoy.
and New Year's. And Joe, let's get together right back after the first of the year. I think I enjoyed this. I think it's good, and we didn't even scratch the surface as I think. So, what do you think?
We'll hook up. Yep.
You got it. All right. Just remember, don't leave yet until this all, after I'm done recording. But then, thanks everyone, and like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.